This N8N workflow can automatically post top of the funnel content on your LinkedIn account by first deep researching a topic using Perplexity's deep research model. It creates the social post that's highly engaging. It also creates a high click-through rate image to get the click. And the best part about it is that we have added 2 places where human can check the quality of the work. If approved, proceed. If disapproved, everything gets revised. Finally, the content gets posted on LinkedIn as well as a backup inside our Google Drive. Eventually, we're going to get a Telegram message saying everything is completed. So let's start from the beginning to see how everything is put together. If you're building this from scratch, I highly recommend downloading this free template simply by checking out the first link in the description so you can follow along with this tutorial. Throughout the video, I'm also going to touch on parts of the workflow that require extra attention to detail so you don't get stuck setting them up. And also the parts that you need to go in and change so that you can swap the API keys and login credentials so it is going to work in your workflow. So starting from the beginning, we have a trigger. You can swap this with any type of trigger. You can add a scheduled trigger to run every day, every morning. So inside our Google Sheets, we have 4 columns: topics, content URL, call to action, and completion status. N8N will go inside this Google Sheet and pull any row with the data with the completion status set to no. So for the purpose of a project like this is so that we can create engaging content that's relevant to the latest news, and we can put that on our social media feed where people find them interesting, and we want them to click through to a landing page where they can interact with our content. We can lead them to a product or lead them to a social media account. So in this case, we are talking about YouTube RPM versus CPM. And you don't just want to create social media content that people just look at and don't do anything with it. What we want to do is create something interactive. So in this case, we are leading people to this landing page where people can add in their metrics to see if their income from their day job is actually earning more than their YouTube earnings. It's just something interactive for people to look at. So now let's head back into N8N. So it's going to grab the topic and then feed it into our deep research model. Here we have the method set to post. For the URL, you can simply copy and paste this particular URL in your workflow, or you can reference Perplexity's API documentation. But everything here is set up and ready to go. All you have to do is go to the link in the description and copy all the prompts that we have here and paste that right inside your workflow to save you time. Down here, we are sending headers and we are adding authorization and our API key. Be sure to add in bear, space, and your API key. And you can grab your API key inside your Perplexity's API account. Scroll all the way down, we're going to toggle send body, and we're going to use JSON. Inside the JSON expression field, we have this prompt that you can copy and paste right inside your workflow. What we are basically saying is that you are a professional researcher that analyzed the input that we give you and research the web to give me the content. Inside the JSON expression field, we have this prompt. We're using Sona Deep Research, and you are basically saying you are a professional researcher that can analyze the input and research the web to gather data. And here down in the user prompt, we're simply saying, hey, find me 3 case studies regarding this topic, which is YouTube RPM versus CPM. Once the research is completed, which will take about maybe 5 minutes because we are using the deep research model, which can take time, but it's going to gather a lot of good data that we can feed into our writing agent. Inside our writing agent, we already have an output generated, and we're pinning the data to save us money while we are testing this. Inside the prompt area, we are using ChatGPT 4.0 to generate the post. Here we're basically mapping the research data, call to action, and the landing page URL that we got from our Google Sheet. And on the bottom, I have a whole list of words and vocabulary that AI should not use so that the content doesn't seem too AI written. I also mentioned to add 7% misspelling and improper grammar to appear more human written. Basically, I'm saying to reference the researched data and come up with an enticing social media post. That's main job is to get people to click through to the landing page. Once the social post has been created, it will pass through a human approval process. In this case, we're using Telegram as the human in the loop checkpoint. What's going to happen is Telegram will send us a message showing the content written by the writing agent, and we can see that right inside the app. And we can either approve or disapprove. If disapproved, we have the opportunity to add in some changes, which will pass that change request to our content revision agent. Once the content has been revised, it would save that latest content inside our set node, which we can reference inside our Telegram message. So we get the latest revised content to take a look at. If it's approved, it's going to get passed to our image generation agent. So inside our Telegram node, assuming you have your account already set up, all you are saying is, here is the latest content, and you will map that content from the previous node. In the response type, we have three options: approval, free text, or custom form. In my personal experience, custom form is the easiest to set up because you can have the most flexible and yet decisive answers that you can give to the AI workflow. It's either yes or no. If no, adding some changes. Inside our custom form, we're basically saying, do you approve this? And we have our drop-down list. It's either yes or no. If no, we're going to toggle required field, which we are mandated to add in the change request. And here we say change request. We can add in text, and our placeholder will say add your change request right here. So if we run this workflow, let me just disconnect this part and make sure that nothing is pinned, and we're going to hit test workflow. What you will see is that we're going to get a message inside our Telegram saying, hey, here is your content. Do you like this or do you not like this? Let's say that we want to remove all of those hashtags on the bottom, and we can simply hit respond, open up this prompt. Here's our content, and on the bottom, you have the option to approve or disapprove. We're going to click on the drop-down menu and hit, I want some changes. So I disapprove this, and we're going to say, remove all hashtags, and hit submit. And right away, we're going to get another message showing us the revised content. And right here, this is our new content. N8N has already gone through the process and rewritten the whole thing by removing the hashtags on the bottom. And right now, we're happy, so we're going to hit respond, and we're going to do the whole thing again. And this time, we will select, we approve this, so yes, and hit submit. Once the content has been approved, it's going to hit the if node, and if no changes is required, it's going to pass on to the next node. And the same thing, vice versa for the disapprove process. If anything that's not a yes, then it's going to be false, which will lead the process down to the revision agent. So now let's connect our if node to our image generation node. Inside this HTTP request node, we already have everything pretty much set up and ready to go. And if this is your first time setting up the OpenAI's image API, it's a bit tricky. So I highly recommend you download the free template in the first link in the description and follow along this video. You might have to save this video a couple times to watch this step by step so you don't run into any issues. So here for the method, we're using post. And for the URL, you can reference this by going into the API documentation. Once you log into your API account, the OpenAI API account, go on the left-hand side and scroll all the way down where it says images. And right here is your endpoint reference. And you can highlight this and copy it and paste that right in here. For authorization, we're using none because we are sending headers. We're using authorization, and this is where you will paste in your API key. Inside your OpenAI API account, go to API keys, and right here you can generate a secret key. And be sure to copy that key and save it somewhere because you can only see that key once, and you're not going to be able to see the whole thing again. So make sure you copy it, save it somewhere so you don't lose it. And right here we have, in the value field, this is where you will paste in the API key for the image generation tool. You will type in bear, space, and your API key. On the bottom, we're going to toggle send body, and you will use JSON as the body type. And this is where you need to follow this part carefully. For the body parameters, you will use model, and you will use GPT-image-1. And then you will add in another parameter. You will name it to prompt. And this is where you will add in your image prompt as an expression. And also add a parameter as size. That's your image size. So now let's look at our image prompt. And inside the prompt, we're basically referencing the research content, and we're telling it to create a simple visual illustration of the concept with a call to action. And the overall image has to be clean and minimalistic, and create something kind of looks like a banner ad to get the clicks. And the most important thing down here is to add this prompt right here, telling GPT not to create or reference any copyrighted content or names, celebrities, which could violate the content policy, which would interrupt the workflow. When we hit test, it's going to generate an image. And notice that it comes out as a B64 JSON, which is all this code that doesn't mean anything to us. And by the way, we're pinning this so that we don't burn through our credits while going through this tutorial. So what we need to do is turn this B64 JSON file into an image file, which is a binary file. So the easiest way to do that is to add a node to convert that B64 JSON to a binary file. And right here in between, we have added a set node, which we will explain later, so that this entire process right here, after I explain how this whole thing works, it's going to make more sense on why this node is right here. This node right here works exactly like the first node right here, which its main job is to pass the latest revised content into the workflow. Now let's explain further on the second approval process. This is an image approval process where when the image is generated, a human can either approve or disapprove. This whole thing looks kind of complicated, but once I explain this to you, it's going to make a lot more sense. Now, to see the image approval process is exactly the same as the content approval process. What we're doing here is we are feeding that information down the line, and we're using Telegram as our approval or disapproval checkpoint. So Telegram will append the image on the message app, which we will see right here once we hit test. And it's going to also ask us to approve or disapprove. And it's going to hit the if node. If approved, then move on. If no, disapprove, and we're going to revise it. And right here, we'll have two merge nodes. And I don't want you to be discouraged when you see them, because it can be confusing when you see all those lines connecting all over the place. What we're doing right here with this first node right here, where it says parking approved image, what we're doing with this one is once the image has been approved, it's going to be parked right here so that we can feed it into our Google Drive upload node and our LinkedIn upload node. If disapproved, we're also doing the same thing. We are parking the content, the image content in here so we can feed it into our image generation node. Image revision agent. Because what the image revision agent wants is to reference the binary data literally from the node before. We cannot reference the image all the way back here from 4 nodes ago. We have to literally park the binary file right before the image revision agent. And that's why we're using the merge node to get this to work. So let's say that we disapprove the image. Actually, let's just hit test to show you exactly how this looks like. So inside our Telegram app, we have received our image, and we can say if we approve or disapprove. If we hit respond and open up this prompt, we can say, you know what, let's disapprove this. Let's change the background to red and hit submit. And now it has passed the request changes to the revision agent, and it's going to recreate that image, and it's going to pass down the line to give us the most updated information. So here we go. We have our revised image right here. We can either approve or disapprove. Now, if we run this again, if we approve the image, if we come here and we say we approve this, and it's going to pass down to the LinkedIn post, and it's going to save the file inside our Google Drive, and also adding that to Google Doc so we can add the content and image onto a Google Doc to archive the content, and it's going to update the sheet. If we go to our LinkedIn account, we can see our content has been added. Here's the post, and here's the image. And also inside our Google Drive account, we can see that our image has been uploaded, and we have also created a copy of the content inside our Google Doc, which I will explain exactly how to set this up. So going back to our image revision agent, so inside our image revision agent, let's open that up, because setting this up can be a little bit tricky because it's different. So for this image revision agent, you will use ChatGPT's image generation API call, which you can reference everything here by visiting the API documentation on your account. Simply go to API reference and go down to images. Right here, you can reference the curl command, which you can easily input and have everything populated. And you can reference the endpoint, which is right here. But we're not using the generation endpoint. For this, we're using the edit endpoint, which you can copy right here. What this will do is it will reference a previous image and add changes based on that reference image. So it's not going to generate a completely new image. So for the method, we're using post, and we are sending headers, and we're adding authorizations, add our API. And in the send body section, you will toggle that. And this is where you have to be very careful on how you set this up. And here are the following data that you need to populate. You will use body content type as form data. The first one you will add is model, and you will reference GPT-image-1, which you can reference right here inside the API documentation. Next, you will add a parameter for N8N binary file, and you will set that to image, and you will reference data, because this will reference the image file from the previous node, which right here we have part using our merge node. Next, you will add a form data and you will add size as the parameter. And for this tutorial, we're using 1024 by 1024 image size. It's a square image. And lastly, you will add form data and you will name it to prompt. And this is where you are adding the change request. You can simply map that from your Telegram message. Okay? And this is pretty much exactly how you can set this up. And when you hit test, it's going to recreate that image and then send it to the set node. And then it's going to move down the line using the latest revised content. Now, the final part of the workflow is to upload the content to LinkedIn and also save everything inside our Google Drive. Now, setting up LinkedIn can be a bit tricky, and I have another video going over how to set up the API connections so you can add your credentials, which is pretty easy to set up, and it's going to automatically upload the content to LinkedIn. Now, what's confusing for a lot of people is how to add the image to a Google Doc, because it's not that straightforward. So what we want to do here is after we have approved the content and the image, we want to create a Google Drive, which we already have a folder created. We're uploading the image to the Google Drive, and then we're going to share the image. We're basically changing the permission so that we can access the file. And then we're going to create a Google Doc. This is only creating the document, but it's not adding anything to the document. In order to do that, we have to use a HTTP request call. This is kind of confusing because right now, at the time of making this video, Google Docs inside N8N doesn't have the feature to add images. So we have to use this special HTTP request to do so. And this is where it's going to be very helpful if you download this template so you can follow along. So you don't have to waste hours setting this up. So let's open up this HTTP request. What we're doing here is we are using the post as the method. And for the URL, you will copy this verbatim. And all you have to change is you want to map this right here to the Google Docs that you have created from the previous node, which if we look at the input column, we're simply dragging this ID, okay, this ID schema right in here, okay? And down here, we are creating our credentials. Assuming you already have that set up, it's pretty easy to do. Scroll all the way down, you will send headers. We will simply use JSON as the body type, and you will paste in this line right here as the expression. Scroll all the way down, you will toggle send body. And this is where you have to be very careful on how you set this up, because I have spent hours trying to set this up, and it wasn't easy. Scroll all the way down, you will toggle send body, and this is where all the magic happens. This is what is going to allow Google Doc to add the image as well as the content, the post you have created onto the file. So you have something like this. You can print it or you can save it, put it into a Google Drive or share with somebody. And this is how you do it. You will populate the following. So all you gotta do is just follow along this tutorial video step by step, and you shouldn't have any issue. So for the first body parameter, what you would do is add this right here. And by the way, I'm gonna have that in the description below so you can reference. You will add this request insert inline image dot location dot index, and the value you will set that to 1. And the next parameter is to insert the image URI. This is where you will reference the image to upload. So previously we have uploaded the image, And it's very important for you to add a share node to allow access. Anybody with the link can access this image file. Otherwise, Google Docs will have no idea how to get the image. So once you have enabled the file access, this is what the URI field will do. So what you will do is go inside your import field and reference that image file that you have uploaded, which is this ID right here, and you will map that in this field. Scroll all the way down, you will add this parameter, request insert text. This is where you will append the content, which is pretty easy. All you gotta do is scroll all the way down to where you have created the social media post, the approved version, which is right here. If you follow along, you should not get lost. So the final parameter we're gonna add is to append the text, which is the approved social media post that you have created. All you have to do is add in this name right here. You can copy that in the description below. And for the value, if you keep track of everything, you should be able to map this from the node where you approved the content, which is right here. Okay? You will map the content schema and drag that right in here. And when you hit test, it's going to reference the image and it's going to reference the document you have created, and it's going to add the image and add the content. So you have a backup of the content you have generated for future reference. And lastly, we're going to update our Google Sheet. This is pretty easy. All we're doing is changing the completion status from no to yes. So if we look inside our Google Sheet, we have changed this from no to yes, so that we know that this content is completed. And this is exactly how easy it is to set up a workflow where you can research the topic using Perplexity's deep research agent. It's going to create the image relevant to the post. And in between, you have two human approval checkpoints where you can approve or disapprove the quality of the work. If you disapprove, redo it until you get the version that you like. Now, if you ever find yourself stuck setting this up, be sure to save this video. And if you want to set up other workflow just like this, be sure to watch this one next.